Today I'm going to show you how I built a chicken tractor using only discarded pallets. Well, and some chicken wire. Our family needs some chickens, but before we can have some chickens, we need to have a place to put some chickens. I mean, free range sounds like a grand idea and everything, but I have a feeling with where we live, we'd be doing nothing but subsidizing the coyotes' grocery bill. So, we need to have a place for the chickens. So we took a family field trip, sort of a grown-up Easter egg hunt if you will, and went out hunting for pallets. And after an afternoon of searching, this was our bounty. That after disassembling most of them yielded this pile of lumber. A bunch of 4x4s, a bunch of 2x material, and a whole bunch of 1x material. So I took stock of the materials that I now had, went ahead and put together a bit of a plan in Google SketchUp. If you don't use SketchUp, I highly recommend it. And while I was in there, I went ahead and cheated a little bit and found the angles. Now I know that I'll need about a 37-degree angle here and about a 53-degree angle here. You all know my tendency towards hand tools, but since I'm under kind of a deadline here, I figured I'd get out the power tools. People are going to be giving away Easter chicks that are no longer cute any day now. And right about here is where I disregarded all those angles that I had found in favor of going for the final dimension. And me being me, I could not resist the opportunity to practice a little bit of joinery rather than just screwing things together. So you'll see a lot of that during this project. And of course, my peg would go ahead and split both boards. I'll have to work on the sizing of my pegs. That's okay, it'll be all right. After a lot of debate as to how I wanted to hinge my lid here, I finally decided I don't. What I want to do is I've got these little furring strips here just kind of clamped into place on both sides, and so I'm going to build up the roof on this side. It's going to overlap. I'm going to put these little guys, these little blocks, right here at the bottom for my first course, because since it's going to be up against, the first board is going to be up against this bottom board, but it's not going to be attached. I want that board to stay kind of elevated whenever I lift up the whole lid. So I'm going to put these little blocks underneath there to maintain that angle, have a solid base for it. In order to make this last board really strong, it has to lay down flat on that furring strip. Not like that, because that has only got one attach point. It's not particularly strong, but it's okay. That doesn't need to be. All it's doing is shedding water. There's going to be some structure built on this one. So I went ahead and cut out a little notch right there so I'd maintain an overlap, maintain my watertight roof. I think my chickens will thank me. And it's also worth mentioning that I am pre-drilling these holes all the way into my furring strip to keep it from splitting when that nail drives in there. Now it's time to build some wheels, and I will confess that this feels a bit crude, but how else am I supposed to build wheels out of a pallet? So here's this silly axle that I made in keeping with trying to keep all my source materials as the broken down pallets. This is just a piece of a 2x4 from one of the pallets that I ripped down to 1 inch by 1 inch on the table saw, and then with my spoke shave I made it roughly round. I'm really not sure if this is going to hold up to the weight that I'm going to put on it, but I'm going to give it a shot. To keep my wheel from trying to walk up the axle, I'm going to bore a hole here, and I'm just going to put a wooden pin in right there, and then I'll do the other side on the outer end of it to hold the wheel in place on the axle. I am aware that that's going to weaken my axle somewhat, and I hope that it doesn't ruin the whole thing, but it's kind of the best idea that I've got going. So I need to lubricate this axle so that the wheel will spin nicely on it, but I don't want to use an oil because that will swell up the wood on both sides and that'll just make it more tight. I don't want to reduce the diameter of my axle any further and weaken it, so what do? Well, let me show you. I'm going to take a pencil and just going to go over the whole thing with a pencil. Graphite, if anybody's done any Pinewood Derby racing, you know that graphite is a good lubricant of sorts, and it should theoretically do the job here. I'm also going to lube that surface and that surface. Because although this is our kick, I want it to work as smoothly as possible. While I'm doing this, I cannot help but think of the Monty Python bit. The guy's pushing the cart, going, "Ring out you dead, ring out you dead." Oh, look at that. I think that'll work. Now at the midway point on my lower beam here, I'm going to drill a hole at a slight upward angle so that when my wooden axle goes in, the weight on it will want to push the axle up and into the hole. Also, I'm not going to drill it all the way through. I want it to stop about there so that my axle has something to stop against and I don't have to put anything else mechanical in there. And now, since I drilled the hole 2 inches deep, I want to cut this off at about 2 1/4. That will give me a little bit of wiggle room. And now I'm going to chamfer this end a little bit here, maybe, so that it doesn't give me a hard time poking it in the hole. And now I think I've got the first removable wheel for my chicken house. Let's go find out. I believe that will do the job. That's about all I got for you this time. I better cut this off before this video gets too awfully long. So I will say so long for now, but please check back soon This video has been on a cutting room floor for about 3 months. I'm trying to get it finished. So yeah, click the thumbs up if you like this. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video.